This is episode number 137, featuring an open forum about plein air painting, recorded live at the Publishers Invitational in the Adirondacks.
This is the PleinAir Podcast with Eric Rhodes, publisher and founder of PleinAir Magazine. In the PleinAir Podcast, we cover the world of outdoor painting. Called plein air, the French coined the term, which means open air or outdoors. The French pronounce it plein air. Others say plein air. No matter how you say it, there is a huge movement of artists around the world who are going outdoors to paint. And this show is about that movement. Now, here's your host, author, publisher, and painter, Eric Rhodes.
Well, thank you, Jim Kipping, and welcome to the PleinAir Podcast. As he says, my name's Eric. Today we have a fresh and new approach to the podcast, which was recording live from the Publishers Invitational to answer a lot of questions I was getting about plein air painting. I think you're going to find it interesting. I hope your summer is going well, and I hope you're painting a lot. I've been painting a fair amount, but certainly not enough. Summer has been so beautiful. I want to just paint all the time. Coming up in September, I've got Ghost Ranch and Fall Color Week, which is sold out, but that's going to be fun. And then in October, I do have a couple seats open for this. Peter Trippi, the editor of my magazine, Fine Art Connoisseur, we're going to be heading off for our 10th annual art trip. We go behind the scenes in the art world, get into places that you typically can't get in on your own. Anyway, we're going to some cool spots, including Provence, the south of France, Nice, and just that whole area, the trail of Van Gogh and Cézanne, a lot of other artists. Going to see a lot of great artwork, see some private collections, see some really good stuff. And then for the rest of the group that wants to go on, we're going to Edinburgh, Scotland, and I've even got a pre-trip painting event scheduled for those who are on the trip and want to go painting. We're going to be painting in St. Paul de Vence, which is a quaint little town which has got a great, rich art history. Anyway, got a couple seats open up, and the whole thing, you can check it out at finearttrip.com. I've been reading this book by Alan Banks about the amazing artist Ives Gammell, who is the famous Boston painter and the man who totally was responsible for keeping realism alive. He's in the lineage of Jerome and some others, and he had been training people. And of course, Alan Banks was one of his early students. Anyway, he says in the book that Gammell says that one of the best ways to become a plein air painter is to study figure drawing and painting. And there's a great opportunity for you, which is the third annual Figurative Art Convention and Expo, which is going to be held in Williamsburg, Virginia this year. And it's selling really fast this year because it's close to all these bigger cities, and you can get there a lot easier. Anyway, a lot of great ways to perfect your skills, to be part of the community. It's like the Plein Air Convention, only for figure painting. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people from the Plein Air Convention are actually going to it as well. We're going to be doing a Plein Air event in Williamsburg, Old Town Williamsburg, with the people in costumes. Before the event officially begins, we're going to be out there plein air painting these people in costume, which is going to be fun. Anyway, you can learn from some of the great masters. John Michael Angel from the Angel Academy in Florence is coming in. That's a rare appearance. Another really rare appearance, one of the great Russian masters from the Repin Academy of Art in St. Petersburg, one of the great art schools, Nikolai Blohin. He's absolutely incredible. Once you've seen his work, you're going to want to come and see him do this live. Casey Baugh is coming back, Raisha Piramuter, Josh LaRock, Michael Klein, Adrian Gottlieb. There's many I'm not mentioning. I should be Scott Waddell, and a whole bunch of other people I should be remembering, but am not, so I apologize. Anyway, Williamsburg, Virginia. You can learn more at figurativeartconvention.com. Coming up after the discussion, it's not an interview this time. I'll be answering art marketing questions in the Marketing Minute, but first let's get to the forum in the Publishers Invitational in the Adirondacks. And I can't guarantee the quality is going to be great because we recorded up in the middle of the woods and I didn't have all the great recording equipment I normally do. Well, today we have a very interesting podcast. Today we're recording at the Publishers Invitational in the Adirondack Mountains. We're recording this on June 12th, but of course it's airing at another time. We have a live audience. Say hi, everybody. Well, that's sure sounded like a lot of people. We have 86 people here this week, and we're in the Adirondack Mountains of upstate New York. Upstate New York, we're about 1 hour from the Canadian border, and the Adirondack Mountains are kind of one of the best kept secrets in America. It is a state park that is about the size of 3 of our national parks combined. And it's just beautiful up here. And we are our 9th year, and the Publishers Invitational is an event where we just get together and paint. There's no pressure, there's no competition. We all show our paintings, but just to each other. We don't sell them. We're not, we get a chance to set up and paint next to each other because we're not competing in a show. And so today I thought would be kind of a fun thing to do is just to engage the people who are here at the Publishers Invitational and just have an open forum and to talk about anything, everything, no politics, but maybe anything about plein air painting. You might want to talk about what's happening this week, something you've learned, something you've discovered. Maybe you want to talk about a product. So I'm just going to ask you to randomly step up to the microphone and state your name and where you're from and maybe what you do. Like, I'm a pastel painter, I'm an oil painter, I'm a palette knife painter, that kind of a thing. Who wants to begin? Because it's always tough to get the first one. We got all these people who are being very quiet. So I'm going to start pointing to people. All right, I'm going to point to the noisy one because I know she's always going to be noisy. Come on up here. Come up to the microphone. And you want to be about that far from the microphone. State your name. Get a little closer.
Voice. My name's Kim Herster, and I have a projecting voice because I've been a coach for many, many years, and now I am retired from coaching, and I do art, and
when
I
you
love
say
it.
you're a coach, you mean like a baseball coach?
No, I coached gymnastics since 1977.
Okay. And when did you become a painter?
2004.
And when did you become a plein air painter?
I don't remember,
Okay.
but I love these events.
Okay, so just curious, you've been to this several times, and you're like what we would call a super customer because you've been on all of our trips, and you went to Cuba and New Zealand and a lot of other stuff, right?
A lot of the trips, and this is my favorite. I'll tell you why the Adirondacks is my favorite, is because I like to have my own bedroom, and we have our own little bedroom, and there's 4 people in a suite. And 2 people share a bathroom, but you have your own little bedroom, so you don't have to worry about if someone snores or doesn't snore, or I could turn the light on anytime I want to, whatever. I just love that freedom not to be, say, in a hotel room, sharing a hotel room with someone.
Okay,
so
and
that's one of the reasons.
Okay, and what are the other reasons?
The other reasons are the camaraderie we have here. We make good friends, and then we come back year after year and see these faces, and we go to different paint groups together, and you could choose Group A, you could choose Group B. You don't have to sign up, or you can switch your agenda around any way you want. You can go anywhere you want. You don't even have to go to Group A or B. But it's so much fun. We eat breakfast and dinner together, and then we pack our lunch, so we don't have to think about anything except painting.
And you've been to this many years, so what do you think is the best benefit of this? Do you find that your painting improves after a week of painting?
I haven't painted lately because I've been very focused administratively in my studio, and so I haven't had time to paint, and I felt like a fish out of water the first several days, but as you keep painting and you're around other people and they're all encouraging, then you improve. You start improving.
So what's your topic tonight, Kim?
Well, there's one topic that I've been bending Eric's ear about, and that is the juried, what do you call them? Juried painting events.
Plein air shows.
Yeah, plein air shows. I think they're wonderful. I think it's wonderful to have it as a fundraiser for whatever they're doing it for. I think it's wonderful to have selected artists. I think it's wonderful to have juried artists. The only thing I don't think that the only thing I feel like is missing is a place for ordinary, someone said ordinary artist, amateur artist, to have a day. And so I've talked to probably 3 different organizers, the head organizers for these different events, and their comment is, well, we do have something. We have what's called the 2-hour quick draw. Well, the ordinary artist, a lot of the ordinary artists don't want to try to fly across the country to go to a 2-hour quick draw. Plus, they're really probably not ready to get a painting done in 2 hours. And so I talked my sweet mate into coming to Texas to one of our PleinAir events, and she flew down to Texas. Well, first I paid my money to jury in. She paid her money. She made it. I didn't. So, which is okay. I wasn't hurt that I didn't do it. I was just very frustrated that I couldn't be with her because I talked her into coming. And so, anyway, point being, I think there needs to be a full day at these events for the ordinary artist, a full day instead of a 2-hour quick draw.
Okay, does anybody in the room want to address that? If you do, you want to walk up to the mic and talk about it. I will tell you that I just talked to the people at the Laguna Invitational, and they are doing a day now for anybody can come and paint with them. And I think the PleinAir Easton people are doing that now too. So you may be starting a little trend here because you've been talking about this, and so maybe it'll happen. There are probably some might consider to be some downsides to that idea, and that might be that they're bringing audiences in and they want to make sure their quality is high and they want to make sure they're known for bringing in quality artists. As you may or may not know, there are some shows that have deteriorated in attendance and sales because they lowered the quality of their jurying and their standards. I can think of one show in particular who I won't mention, and what they did is they were getting a lot of pressure to bring local artists in and have a certain percentage of local artists, which they did, and after the first year of doing that, because the quality wasn't necessarily as good, their show deteriorated, and it really hurt the show, and it's taken them, it's like been 7 or 8 or 9 years since they did that, and they've not been able to get people to come back, people who are really interested in quality. So I don't know if that's an issue. Does anybody want to comment on that? And if you do, come up to the microphone and tell us your name, and we'll get your opinion about that. I think everybody needs to be able to participate to the extent they possibly can, but I think also there needs to be an opportunity to highlight them somehow. Yeah, get close to the microphone. Tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Bonnie McGowan from Ringwood, New Jersey, and I just wanted to say this year, for the first time, I'm participating in an event in Pennsylvania, and they have the juried artists, they have alternates, but they have what they called open artists.
Uh-huh.
And they're invited to come to all the painting sessions, but when it comes to the big show where they're selling the paintings and stuff, they don't participate in that.
Right.
But they could come to all the paint outs.
Oh, that's great.
For the whole thing.
Great.
It's for the, it's like the brandy wine area.
Uh-huh.
It's called Farm to Table. But
Cool.
they're called open artists. And my friend who's not a PleinAir painter comes with me, and she paints, and we paint all day, and that's the only thing. And she's really not a PleinAir painter, so she doesn't want to participate in the show anyway.
Yeah.
But she participates in all the paint outs.
Good. Now, since you're up here, you've been coming to this for how long?
I think it's 6 or 7 years. I think 7.
Yeah, this is year number 9, so you've been here most of the time.
Yes.
So why do you keep coming back?
You know, when I was working, I always saw it, things in the magazine, and I wished I could go. And finally, when I retired, I was able to go. And it's my favorite. It's everybody's so nice. I like that you just eat meals together. It's beautiful here. And I think Eric does really a great job.
Thank you.
It's really nice. And
Thank
he
you.
opens his home
Hey?
and for parties, and you can't get any better than this.
Well, we'll find out how that goes.
Okay, thank you.
If we have to kick you out at 3 o'clock in the morning, the last time we had to kick you out, it was really embarrassing, Bonnie.
I'll try to be better this time.
All right. Okay, so anybody who has something, you just come out, step up to the microphone, and bring your stuff up and tell us who you are. And I hear somebody coming up. And if you want to line up, that'd be great, so we don't have to have any pauses in between. Okay, tell us who you are. Get real close to that microphone.
Hi, I'm Debbie Madison. I'm from Swickley, Pennsylvania, and I am an acrylic plein air painter. And I
Yay.
want to shout out to all the acrylic plein air painters because we're kind of,
Yay. Quite a few of you.
yeah, there's a lot of us here this year. And oil painters, of course, get all the credit, but acrylic is working its way up.
Absolutely.
And I want
Well,
to...
actually, from statistically, from what I'm told, and I may be wrong on this, and somebody will probably correct me, the number one selling medium in terms of art materials is watercolor, but right on its heels is acrylic. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're all professionals, but as you know, a lot of entry people want something that they don't have to deal with stuff they don't understand, like oils and solvents and things like that.
Right.
I should also mention that we are trying to acknowledge acrylic more in the magazine, and we are working on and hope to have at the Plein Air Convention this year a special acrylic track. We're waiting to find out if we can get the extra space.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So we'll be
Yeah.
working on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so your comment, question?
So the other thing I wanted to mention is that there are some plein air events that are not juried, and I've gone to some of them. And my goal for coming here this year, I was here last year, but all the paintings I did last year, I took home and I worked on them.
Yeah.
So they're not theoretically, technically plein air. So this year, my plan was to come and complete paintings here so that I would have plein air paintings to submit to juried competitions. So I have done that. I've completed 4 that are not perfect, but they're good enough and they were all painted outside, totally plein air. So I'm hoping to enter some of the juried ones and just go from there.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So this is a good opportunity to just kind of concentrate on your work, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't have to think about anything else.
Yeah, it's
Except
nice.
the mosquitoes, but, you know.
Yeah, well, we had a bad year for mosquitoes this year. And some years it's hit and miss. Some years we don't have many.
Right.
This year was worse. The spring is late this year, so we got a little more mosquito than normally.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
But it's great. It's a great time. I love it.
Good. Well,
Good.
thank you for being here.
Sure,
All right,
thanks.
who's next? Who's coming up to the microphone? I see. Yeah, come on up. Tell us who you are. Oh, okay. We're going to have to tilt that down. Hang on. Okay, there we go.
Okay, I'm Chris Newton. I'm from Chesterton, Indiana.
Yay.
And I'm new to plein air painting, as well as this is the first plein air event I've come to, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. This has been wonderful.
So how did you learn about it?
From your podcast. I've been listening to your podcast and subscribed to Plein Air magazine. And basically, it's how I've started to learn to do plein air. Of course, this is a big learning curve, and I've painted since I was young.
Okay, so you've been an artist, but what made you decide to start going out plein air painting?
I'd say 5-6 years ago, I noticed that, you know, I'd take photos of beautiful scenes, planning to come back and paint them, and I'd look at them and I'd be like, this is not what I saw. I can't paint this. You know, all that beauty I saw just wasn't in the photograph. So at that point, I'm like, I have to start going outdoors to paint.
You
And
know,
I never did it.
I have a saying, photos are liars.
Yes. So I finally got the guts to start doing plein air about last August. And I'd start in my backyard, and then I work my way out a little bit more, and so that's how I decided to come here and really, you know, get a good feel for being out in the open in front of people.
How about a
painting.
round of applause for her? Wait, don't go away. So you, so what has this experience of learning plein air been like for you, and how did coming to this event help you kind of put some of it together, or did it?
Well, it has. You know, I thought I was getting it, and then I got here and realized, you know, I knew I had so much more to learn.
Yeah.
But when I got here,
We
I
all do.
realized there was a lot more to learn than I thought, and but it's really helped me find out what I need to know. You know, what I need to correct in my paintings. everyone's here is just wonderful. They're, giving their knowledge and expertise, and just watching everyone paint and seeing everyone's, work is phenomenal. So
It's also kind of cool to see how all the different rigs and see how people do
The
it.
equipment, yeah.
I was noticing today, we were out at one of the falls, and, everybody there had something different. And, some of them are homemade. We had somebody here tonight who gave a demo on one of his, a new, very cool homemade easel that he came up with.
Yeah, it's a
Completely
great
different
idea.
concept. And so, but also to see how different things are. And of course, the other thing that I notice every year, because I don't get a chance to paint this much, and I get down to the point where I get a rhythm, and it's all of a sudden now I'm starting to take things out of my bag that I don't need and shed things. Are you finding that you're kind of adapting as you go along?
definitely, yes. And I also see that there's equipment I should get and other equipment that I just don't need.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Well,
I feel much more confident, but, I still have a lot of growth.
Well, we all do. And well, congratulations and thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
I hope
Eric.
you'll come back.
I definitely will.
Okay, somebody else is coming up here. Okay, now we're going to have to make this, lift that up. There you go. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Melissa Moffett, and I'm from New Jersey at the Jersey Shore, the real Jersey Shore. And I have a couple questions.
Can you get a little closer to that mic?
One is I'm learning, being up here, that there's so many different kinds of equipment and easels, and what's the best and easiest to carry. I want something lightweight. I have bags. I carry lots of things, and it's heavy. And to get to different locations, it's very difficult. So anybody who has any advice for different easels and setups and everything, I think it would be nice maybe to even, if we talked about it at some point, maybe the next convention or the next whatever.
Okay, well, that's that's a loaded question, and if I answer the question, I'll have a lot of people mad at me.
No, I understand.
But let's just talk about that for a second. First off, I did an easel shootout on Facebook a couple of months ago where I took all the easels that I have, and a lot of the manufacturers send them to me. Some of them I buy, so I have a lot of different variety. I took all the easels I have and I weighed them all and I measured them all, so I showed their weight, their size, showed their functionality, so that you could kind of go through, and that you would find that on Facebook on my account somewhere. And
You won't. I'm not on your Facebook. I tried, but you never
well,
answered.
you
I think
could-
you have too many people.
well,
You never accepted my friendship.
unfortunately, Facebook doesn't give me more than 5,000, but you
Right.
can still follow.
Okay.
Even though I can't friend you, and then of course you can follow on Instagram, which is unlimited, which Facebook also owns. So the first thing is that the reason there are so many easels is because there's so many different approaches and so many different styles and so many different needs. For instance, if you're 20 years old or 30 years old and you're out plein air painting and you don't mind lugging a lot of gear and a lot of weight, then you might want to go with something that's a heavier wooden, French easel, the old traditional French easels or something like that. But if you're looking for speed and setup, then, for instance, there are some easels where you just pull the legs out and you open it up and your paint and everything is right there. There's others that have that same concept that you can put it on a tripod and then open it up. You've got a little drawer for your paint, your brushes, and all that kind of stuff. And then there are variations on those concepts where you don't have that stuff stored in it. My particular goal is lightweight. So
Yes, me
as I get to the point where it's not quite as easy to hike as long and so on, I don't want to carry 50 pounds on my back anymore. So
Have
one of the
100
things, one thing I would encourage everybody to do is to consider trying a limited palette. I took my paint package out of my backpack and eliminated 10 pounds today because I have a lot of tubes of paint that I carry. So now what I do is I have a little tray. It's a little thing I bought at Jerry's Artorama, and they also sell them at Blick and other places. And it basically is a little box, has little wells in it. And so I put my paint out in there, and then I have a lid on it, and I seal it. I have Velcro on the bottom. I just stick it on top of my easel. So that way my paint is fresh, and then I replenish it before I go out. I just put enough in for the day, and I carry an extra tube of white. Now I don't have to carry all that extra stuff. But if you go to a limited palette, which is basically, red, blue, and yellow and white, you can mix any color from those. Of course, we all are color junkies, and we like to have more colors, but you'll get better color harmony, but also you're not carrying so many things. Now, the paint manufacturers would probably not like me saying that, and they want you to buy, all colors, and you're going to do that anyway for your studio. But in terms of getting to know it, that's a good starting point. But, at the convention, we have an expo hall, and almost all the easels are represented there, and you'll get a chance to try them all out and see what you like, and, pick them up, touch them, feel them, the weight and so on, and it's a good opportunity. But look for that easel shootout, too.
Well, the other thing is, what clarification for PleinAir to be in, say, a juried or enter a contest if you do not finish the painting outside and you touch it up or you add to it in your studio? Is that still considered PleinAir?
Oh, well, you're opening a can of worms.
Yes, I
So
know. That's why I'm asking.
I get cards and letters. Well, not really cards or letters. I get emails and telephone calls from people, and there is this sense that PleinAir has to be done outdoors entirely. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is the painting had to start with PleinAir and then was finished in the studio. All of those are correct. There's not a right or wrong answer. Now, some people are purists, and some people will say, once you take it indoors, you mustn't work on it anymore. The issue, though, is the primary goal is to make a great painting. And you want to create paintings that are going to live on forever. And I don't know how many hundreds of times I've done it, but I brought a painting indoors and my values were off because maybe I was painting in the sunlight or not painting in the shade or just wasn't paying attention to my values. And so, a lot of professional painters will, even those who are working in shows, they'll paint outdoors, then they'll take them into the hotel room and they'll touch them up. Every competition has its own rules and
What is
regulations
your
about that.
competition for yours?
For mine, I don't have a
Well, the
PleinAir,
juried.
oh, the PleinAir Salon?
Yes.
Well, PleinAir Salon is
What you win at the convention?
that's the PleinAir Salon, the
Okay.
$15,000 grand
Now, what are
prize.
your rules for that?
Well, our rules are that everything goes.
Okay.
And the reason is that we want to really emphasize the idea that PleinAir means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. When I first started PleinAir magazine, the galleries would say to me, "Well, we don't carry PleinAir paintings. We only want finished paintings." That's how ridiculous it was. And there are people out there who are going to be on all sides of the spectrum. So in our competition, PleinAir Salon, everything is supposed to have started with PleinAir. So we have categories like studio paintings, figure in the outdoor figure, still life that's done outdoors. But we also you can do studio, but the whole idea is originating from PleinAir. And there are even people who do imagination, but they're PleinAir painters who they paint outdoors so much that they look like they were painted on location too. So I'm going to get some flack for that, and what we care about is creating good paintings, and good paintings that will have life for a long time to come. We don't know. I mean, if you look back on Edgar Payne or some of the great PleinAir painters from 60, 80 years ago, or 100 years ago, or many years ago. I mean, some of the Hudson River School painters supposedly painted on location. They'd take a buggy and some help, and they'd go out to the top of a mountain, they'd climb up, and they'd camp out, they'd paint on location, they'd grind their colors on location. But most of these guys couldn't do that all the time. They're doing sketches, and then they're maybe getting some color samples. Maybe they're just doing pen and ink sketches. A lot of people did that. So the goal here is just getting something good. And we don't really know what all these people did. We know some of what they did. But, did Edgar Payne go outdoors, and then when he went up to Temple Craig, and then did he touch them up later? We just don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? All right, who's next? Yeah, come on up. All right, just step right up to that microphone, state your name. You got a beer.
I could be here a while. I'm Jeff Matheson. I'm a watercolor painter. And my question is going to be kind of a question for the whole group.
Talk to the microphone.
Okay. It's good that you just mentioned the Hudson Valley painters, because one of the things that I always like about those old paintings is that figure in the landscape.
Yeah.
It's the little man or woman who's
Yeah.
standing down there in the landscape
Yeah.
and admiring the view. So the question is, does that lead everybody into identifying with the landscape more, or does that turn people off? In other words, do you identify with that little figure in the landscape, or would you rather not see that and just see the pure landscape?
Well, I will tell you what Joe McGurl says.
Mm-hmm.
Joe McGurl says whenever you put a figure in the painting, it becomes about the figure. And so you have, the question really is, what do you want the painting to be about?
Right.
Is the painting about the landscape? Is the painting about, myself imagining myself on that horse in that landscape? I think that's an individual choice. I don't
Right.
know that there's a right or wrong. Does anybody in the audience have a viewpoint on that they want to come up and share? And if you do, come up to the microphone. And because I think that's great. I should also point out, Jeff, that one of the benefits of the Publishers Invitational is meeting people like you.
Right.
I've been watching you paint. I've been looking at your paintings. I've seen the work. You're doing amazing figures in the landscape. And as you know, I've contacted
Right.
Kelly Kane, our editor at PleinAir Magazine, and asked her to consider doing a story on you because of discovering your work. And so we're going to be hearing a lot more from you, I have a hunch.
Well, that's great. That's great news. Yeah, so this is just a question I've had for a long time.
All right.
And by the way, it was really fun to be painting at places where those Hudson Valley painters painted.
Absolutely. Isn't that
to be
wonderful?
At that flume and to think, the old guys were standing there.
Standing in those same places.
Yeah, those same places.
Yeah.
That's really been a thrill.
As a matter of fact, we probably could, if we, I know over the years we've accidentally had some paint fall out some rocks. So maybe 100 years from now, people will be looking for our steps.
Yeah, hopefully.
Maybe not the watercolor. Okay, you have a comment. Tell us your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Rick Wilson from Edinburgh, Indiana. In regards to the Hudson River artists, their theology was that nature and human can live together, and so I think a lot of times they put humans in their paintings just to demonstrate that the people can be out there enjoying nature and the virgin land that they were exploring at that time. And also, one thing that I think you and I talked about earlier today was putting a figure in one of my paintings was to show a sense of scale.
Right.
And you can do that with figures. If you're painting a grand landscape, if you don't have something in there like a figure that's identifiable that people can scale, then you lose the grandeur of that scene.
Right. You could have a big rock that everybody thinks is a small rock, but if you put a little tiny person next to it, it makes a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, great point. So while you're here, first off, I should acknowledge and thank you. You've kind of led the music here. You bring your guitar. I think we had 7 guitarists on the first night. So
it was pretty
How about a
awesome.
round of applause for our musicians? So tell everybody kind of what we do with the music side of things at this and what the evenings are like at the...
Oh, sure, yeah. After we're painting all day, we paint have paint sessions in the morning, have paint sessions in the afternoon, and we come back around 5 o'clock, have dinner, and we put all of our paintings out so we all have a chance to see each other's catch for the day.
And there's a room
And
of
so-
probably 1,200 paintings
Yeah,
downstairs.
easily, yeah. And the week's not over.
Yep.
And so afterwards, to give the people a little something to do, a little fun. I encourage other artists who are also musicians to bring their instruments, and we have a big jam session every night in the lounge, and we don't have a set list. we all gather, and whoever comes up with the name of a song, if even one of us knows it, then we encourage each other to play it and sing it, and then we encourage sing-along songs. So we have a lot of participation in that regard.
Yeah, I posted one today. I'm going to embarrass somebody in the room. Mark Maserat, where are you? Or Mark, are you in the room? Anyway, I went into the lounge last night and I took a video of him singing, and he'll probably shoot me for posting it.
Yeah, well, you know what? It'll show everybody what kind of a good time we have, and it doesn't matter what the talent level is. The fact is that we're all gathered. We're a bunch of like thinkers having a good time doing what we love.
Yeah, and the other thing we do at night is portrait painting.
Portrait painting, yes. I haven't been involved with that because I'm usually playing a guitar.
Well, so 2 nights in a row, you and Don Edick were serenading us with the piano and the cello while we painted. So from now on, whenever I do portrait painting, I'm going to have a pianist and a cello, and I hope that you'll come to my studio and entertain us.
Oh, I'd be honored to. Yes, I'll be happy to send you a bill for that.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Yeah. All right, sit down. All right, who's coming up to the mic next? Another superstar painter that I've just learned about. Tell us your name.
Hi, my name is Brian Buckrow.
Here, move that up so you can get, there you go.
About right?
Get a little closer to it. There you go.
Thanks. I'm from Vancouver Island, British Columbia.
And you are a rock star acrylic painter.
Wow.
Incredible.
Wow.
And I would imagine we probably will also be doing a feature on you.
That's what I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
So, I'm from Canada.
Yeah.
Canadians grew up with a group of 7
Right.
as a part of their DNA. Group of 7 is Tom Thompson. And
Talk to the microphone.
a
Don't talk
group
to
of
the
7.
audience.
100 years ago, the Canadian identity was first recorded in paint with this group of 7, trying to get away from the European influence. And it became the Canadian identity. And I grew up in public schools with big posters of these folks' paintings on my walls. I come here, and I've had so many people ask me about what I've done. How did I develop that style? What, I can't believe the curiosity
Right.
in my work. And it's quite simple. I'm a Canadian. It's in the Canadian DNA. If you came up to Canada, you would see most of them are stylized. It's just so common.
Right.
If I was in an event like this in Canada, I'd be same old with a bunch of other folks. So it quite surprised me. So you got to come back. It doesn't always snow the first week of October.
Well, what he's referring to is we had Fall Color Week in Banff, Lake Louise, and we picked the peak of fall color, and of course they had a 100-year storm, and so we painted in the snow, which was actually quite fun.
It's a beautiful spot.
Yeah,
no matter.
it really.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of beautiful snow paintings, something I don't get to do very often, and I cured myself of my fear of painting in the snow, so that was cool. So
Anyhow, I just want to say thank you, and I really appreciated the curiosity about what I do. But I need to say, come up, because I'm just one of a whole bunch up there. If you like that kind of stuff,
We'd like that.
we
Well,
got it.
tell us your experience this week since you're a first timer.
It's been great. And the first day I was a little anxious, but I think I did my best work the first day. Which
Why were
was
you
funny.
anxious?
Just being a part of all of this
Right.
sort of thing. This is as big an event as I've been to. I've entered some competitions in Canada and been successful at that. But this is big, you know, and a lot of, as you say, rock stars down here.
Well, you're one of them.
I'm a Canadian. I'm a big fish in a little pond, you know.
Well, now you're a big fish in a big pond.
Point being, as the weeks progressed, I felt more at ease to go and pick my own spots and do what I want to do. And I really enjoyed that. The last couple of days have been great. Farms, buildings, that kind of stuff that I don't get a chance to do, and it pushes me with it. So it's been great, and I really appreciate it.
Great.
So
Well,
be
thank
back.
you for being here.
Thanks.
Okay, who's next? All right, step up to the microphone and get right on it there. Good.
Hi there, I'm Shirley Akers, and I'm from Kansas, and I paint cows. And
Ooh.
I've yet to see one.
Yeah. Well, Brady and I were driving by a farm yesterday, and I said, Brady, there's some cows. He said, Dad, those are horses.
Well, Brady, I got to teach you a little bit about cattle.
Yeah. Well, and the Adirondacks, the cows are purple.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, really, seriously, this is my first time here, and I'm just so excited I can hardly stand it. And, I found a little slice of heaven this morning. I decided to stay on the campus because I don't know this campus very well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get to know it, so I drove up, and it was raining a little bit, so I drove up to the admissions office, and I found a boat I decided I wanted to paint, and with the trees in the background and everything. And so then pretty soon the security guy came along and asked me to move because there was a shipment coming in. And so I moved up to the administration office, and I sat up there, and I got so excited. I turned the radio on, and I was painting along, and I heard this music, and I thought, man, this is a little slice of heaven, you know? And I was sitting there painting, and it was French music, and I didn't understand a word at all, but I loved it. So anyway, I want to thank you so much because my kids are so proud of me for coming up.
We're proud of
and
you,
doing
too.
this.
Aren't we proud of her?
Yeah.
There is also, if you go into the administration building, there's a giant portrait in there. And I think the portrait was painted, it's either by Nelson Shanks or by Everett Kinsler. And I don't remember which one now because I remember it was one of the two of them, but it's a beautiful portrait hanging in there. And so that's something everybody should do is get a feel for that.
Yeah, I went in there and got some information on the college, but I didn't think to look up, so I'll have to do that again.
Yeah. So for the people who are thinking we're on some campus in the middle of a city somewhere, we're basically on a lake in the middle of the woods. It's Paul Smith's College. They basically teach forestry here. They also have a culinary school and some other things. And it was founded. This used to be a hotel. Paul Smith was the hotelier back in the mid 1800s, and he basically kind of founded this whole area, and the homes on the lakes and everything was because of him. And so we have a lot of heritage here. The Hudson River School painters, many of them stayed in the hotel in the very spot where we are in this building.
Yeah, that's
so we know
exciting.
Winslow Homer was on this lake. We think Frederick Church was on this lake. There's several of them. They've got records of all the people who were here. So there are some very famous Winslow Homer paintings that were done on this chain of lakes right here where we sit.
Wow, that's exciting. And
Yep.
I stopped at the Hyde Collection on the way up, and then on the way back, I'm going to go to the Thomas Cole home.
Oh, yeah, the Thomas Cole home is worth seeing. There's also a great museum in Albany. What's the name of that museum in Albany? It's got 80 Hudson River School paintings. What is it? Institute of Art. The Clark Museum in the Berkshires is nearby. You're going to have you go up to Burlington. There's a great museum up there, a Shelburne Museum. There's a lot of great art around here.
Well, it was on my wish list to come up here to
Great.
the Adirondacks, so thank you.
Thank you for
doing
being
this.
here.
Uh-huh.
All right, good. You're not in line? Well, come on up anyway. All right. See, when you sit by the line, you're going to have to speak. Get a little closer to that mic there, Tim.
Okay, how's this?
That's a pretty good, you got a good radio voice.
Oh, thanks.
So tell everybody who you are.
I'm Tim Palkovic. I live just about an hour away from here, near the place where you were painting today, in the, what was it? The falls, yes, High Falls.
High Falls. So you live
Yeah.
near there.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tim, you've been back 7 times, 6
Yes.
times, and you live an hour away.
Yes.
Now you don't really need to come to this. You can go paint. You can go paint the Adirondacks on your own. Why do you come?
I come for the family of people that I know here, who I've learned to know
Yeah.
over the years, become family for me.
Yeah.
And I come because I get inspired every year about what's going on.
Great.
Yeah, I learn things too. There's little things to pick up every time.
Cool.
Like this year, I learned to get a bug shirt, thebugshirt.com.
$89.99. Yeah.
I'm going to get it.
Well, you're not going to need it ever again. Well, this is the only year we're ever going to have bugs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've already put in some prayers.
Yeah.
So, all right. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Well, yes, when I went up to Montreal and painted in, we did urban sketching in a church.
Yeah.
And this would apply for plein air painting too, but I was sitting there in the chapel sketching, enjoying myself, and people came through, hordes of people, taking a shot and going on, taking a shot and going on.
Right.
And I'm sure that they didn't even remember what they took a shot of when they got back home. But I was looking at that intensely for all that time, and it's inside of me now.
It sinks in. Well, I think that's a really great point and something that we haven't really talked about before. I used to be a photographer, and I would go to, it's like that movie Vacation with Chevy Chase. You know, they'd drive across the country, they'd get there, they'd take a quick look, and they'd leave. It was like that with a camera. And one day, I had that moment of, I'm not spending any time in these beautiful places, and painting allows us to slow down and to really study and really get to know the place.
Actually, it demands that you slow down.
It demands.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Okay. So we've got time for a few more. We got one over here coming up, and then we've got somebody else that's going to line up. All right, so come on over here. Got to be fast. Get close to the mic when you know you're going to be needed. These people listening don't tolerate dead air.
No, I can see that.
Okay, talk to the mic.
Yes, hi.
Tell us who you are.
I'm Andrew Judd,
Hi,
and
Andrew.
I'm here from Toronto, Canada. And you were talking about things forcing you to slow down, and in fact, with all the black flies and mosquitoes up here, it forced me to speed up.
You know, nobody's ever going to come to this thing if they think this is all about
it's
black
it's
flies.
actually really good for your technique. So, you know, if you're a slowpoke when you're painting, you should come up here because it'll speed you up in a hurry.
Oh, you're a funny guy. Funny guy.
As long as there's a secret really to dealing with all the black flies. What you do is you carry a bottle of this spray that insects really like, and you spray the person next to you. So they're attracted to that person, and then you can sit in comfort and you watch them suffer.
I think that's considered drama. You're not invited back.
Okay, thanks. First time and last time here.
So I was talking about you earlier. You've invented a little easel. Give us 30 seconds on your little easel that you've invented.
Oh, wow. I just gave 30 minutes on it, so that's going to be a challenge. Okay, it's the best art box in the world. It's the lightest, most cool. It's like the MacBook Pro of paint boxes. That's what it is, because it's made of metal also, and it's all magnetic and snaps together, and everyone should have one. But I'm not going to build them unless I get orders, so, you know. And they're only $1,000 each. So,
did you say 100,000?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll do a Kickstarter.
If you decide to manufacture them, and we'll just tell you to advertise in PleinAir magazine. You'll sell all of them you've got.
Perfect. You get a free one for sure.
Oh well, hey, I should give you more plugs.
All right. Okay.
Well, thank you for coming up.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. So somebody else was about to come up. Another rock star. So tell us who you are.
Terrell Gable. I'm
Hi,
from the
Terrell.
Hudson Valley, New York.
And you're pretty close too.
Yeah.
And how many times have you been to this
I
thing?
think 7.
Wow.
7.
So-
And the bugs have gotten me to the point where I'll swat and swear and say, I'm not doing this again next year, but there's no way I cannot do it.
Can you get a little closer to
Yes,
the microphone?
yes.
And yeah, so we don't have bugs like this every year.
No, they're not this bad all the time.
No. Just because we had a late spring. Snow stayed around longer.
Yeah, but my testimonial is all about those sunrises. You have to get up
so-
and get that pink mist.
So Terrell gets up and has forced her roommates to get up now. She gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning,
No,
4:30.
no, we leave by 5
You
at the
leave
latest.
at 5.
Yeah.
4:15 you get up and you're going out. So typically when you're here, how many paintings do you get a day?
Usually 4 to 5.
Wow.
Yeah,
Pretty
because I get
incredible.
one before breakfast.
Yeah. And from my understanding, this is one of the places that you kind of create, I hate to use a crass word like inventory, but you come here and you get a lot
I
of
get
work
work
done.
done.
You're a workhorse.
Yeah.
You get a lot of work done, so you have a lot of paintings to be able to put into your galleries and to your selling. So congratulations.
Yeah,
on it.
definitely. I was working more on trying to have completed, ready to frame pieces. So this year I've slowed down a little bit due to injury and just promised myself I'd take it a little easier. and I'm putting, just a hair more work into each one instead of racing off to the next.
So there's something that has happened at this event that maybe you could articulate a little bit, is that there are some people who have come here to this event, gained some confidence, and ended up becoming, leaving the event, never coming back, and going out and doing a lot of plein air events. One of the most famous ones is Charlie Hunter, who came here and got the confidence, and he didn't really realize he was any good, and everybody here was drooling over his paintings. And you ended up in now 2 years in a row in Plein Air Easton. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Congratulations.
Thanks. I'm excited about that. No, this definitely allows you to push yourself, and I guess I always do, but you need to be able to do that if you're going to do those type of competitions.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody is, so you have to really work hard to keep up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you're the hardest working painter I know.
No.
You really are. You're out there all the time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyway, I just thought everybody out there who thinks about coming and listens to the blog, and a lot of people this year said they came because of that. Well, the mornings are spectacular. I do sunrises, sunsets, and big vistas. Those are what I love to do, and you find all of it here. It never disappoints.
Sometimes nocturne paintings.
Yeah, yep. Well, when I stay up that late, because I can't miss music in the lounge, it's tough. I mean, I get about 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, who needs sleep? Sleep when you're
exactly.
dead.
I sleep when I go home. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Terrell. Oh man, we're lining them up and knocking them down. Another superstar. Get up right up close to the mic. Tell everybody who you are.
Hi there, Eric. I'm Susan Nicholas Gephardt from Central Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I gotta say that plein air painting is about expecting the unexpected.
Yeah.
And coming here for me 4 years ago was one of the most wonderful experiences I've ever had. I met people that changed my life and opened up friendships that I never would have imagined, and seeded a passion in my life that I will come back to as long as you present it, no matter how many bugs there are. And I'll tell you what, you got to be prepared. Expect the unexpected, and there's so many elements out there for us as people to go out into nature. We need not fear. We need not fear anything if we are prepared. You got to be a Boy Scout and a Girl Scout, and wear the proper uniforms and wear the right kinds of insect repellent.
Well, one of the things that this is not designed to become an infomercial for this event, obviously.
Absolutely not.
But one of the things that has happened to a lot of people this week and in previous years is that people push themselves because they're being nudged by their neighbor. So I've had people who said, I never would have in my life gone out and done a sunrise painting.
Right.
I never in my life would have gone out and done a nocturne painting. So they're pushing themselves to do things. I mean, some of us, not so much this year because we really didn't have much rain, but last year we had a bunch of rain, and a bunch of us stood out and painted in the rain, and people said, I never would have done that because, at home it's easy just to say, I'll go another time, but up here, your time is valuable and you want to go.
Right. I think one of the most wonderful things about this place is that it inspires you to go on an adventure. We have an opportunity to be with other people if we want, but we can take time to just have a personal space and be quiet.
Right.
And nature is the place to do that. The serenity, the things that we don't get in our everyday life when we're up against intensity of schedules, here we get a chance to slow down, smell the air, breathe in the peace, and enjoy life and
That's
be with
so
wonderful people. And the music at night is the cap to the day. So thank you so much.
You're very
That's
welcome.
all I got to say.
Awesome.
I
How
will
about
be
a round
back.
of applause for Susan?
Thank you.
To that point, today I was I was at High Falls, which you have to walk way down, and I did a painting there, and I decided I wanted to do one in the forest by the river. And so I wandered into the forest, and I just sat down there in the forest, and the green moss on the rocks and the intense spring greens and all the colors and all the beauty and the nature and the air. And I thought, my prayer is just to remember this moment, because when we have these stressful times in our lives and we're running our families, we're running our jobs, we're doing running in a million directions, you know, sometimes you need something to hang on to, and I wanted to remember that moment. So I think, you know, being up here in the woods is good for that. Who's coming up next? All right, come on up. Tell us who you are.
Annette McGowan from Moss Landing, California.
Wow, you came a long way.
I did.
Thank
it was
you.
A way, and I'm glad I did. And I'll just clarify, the bugs really weren't that bad. There were good things about it. I only got 6 bites, so that wasn't bad. I did prepare. I have never really thought of myself as a mixed media painter.
Yeah.
But now I am incorporating bugs into my paintings.
There's one downstairs that's got about 50 bugs in it.
That was mine, I think. That's why I didn't get more than 6 bug bites.
That's why they make palette knives so you can pick them out.
No, I dusted them off, but the wings still are there, so it looks three-dimensional.
They're very cruel.
It's a good. Oh, and there were good things. I learned that my paintings can be fly paper.
Fly paper.
I never thought my paintings, if I can't sell them, I might as well use them for fly
that's
paper.
a great idea.
But I'm really having a great time at this event. I've met some awesome people from, even the beginning, I had booked that little puddle jumper over from Boston.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that you couldn't rent a car on the weekends until afterwards. So on the Facebook page, I had offers to pick me up at the airport, and I haven't needed a ride. I mean, I've needed rides, but people have just offered. There's
the
great
best part
people.
is spending time with other people and
It's
riding with other
awesome.
people, you know, having the conversations in the cars and in the suites at night with roommates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've picked up a lot of different tips, and the scenery is beautiful. And the last lady who was up, who gets up early in the morning, not
Terrell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrell Gable.
I thought I got up early, but she was already at the place I wanted
Well,
to
you
paint.
can go out with her tomorrow morning at 4:45.
No, I think it was beautiful when I got out there,
Yeah,
even
it
though
is.
it was a little bit later.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, great people.
Well, thank you
up
for
here.
being
So
here.
thank you for
All
having
right.
this.
I appreciate
it.
that. All right, so here comes another West Coaster. So step up. You're tall, so you're going to have to get down on that microphone. You can reach up there. There you go. Tell us who you are, where you're from.
Hi, I'm Mark Montserrat. I came from San Francisco to be a part of this.
All right.
And
you're pumping out some pretty incredible paintings this week.
Well, thank you, Eric. I certainly enjoyed your plein air convention in my hometown this year, San Francisco. And, plein air to me was what art was about. When I was a kid, I just went outside and painted. It's before we had the French term in common usage for plein air painting. It's just painting outdoors.
Yep.
And I think it's so cool that you've come along and made such a thing out of this. You've got the magazines and you do these wonderful events. I was in the Adirondacks plein air event last year and didn't get to know too much about the area because you're in such a hurry to produce work. So this year it was great to come back and just try out different areas, and you have a great program of where to go, and it's been really good.
So what's your comment? Thank you for
just
that.
keep up the great work, Eric. Thank you.
For that. I appreciate it. All right, Mark. Cynthia, come up here for a second. So I've pointed to Cynthia Rosen, who's in the audience. And so get up there on that microphone.
Hi, Cynthia Rosen from Vermont.
So you probably get, if we had an award here, you would get the Gutsy Award. You are one of 2 people who are painting giant paintings on location. How big is the one that you were working on this week?
36 by 48.
On location. Wow.
Great location.
Yeah.
Great location.
So-
if I had better medium with me, I'd do it every day.
So tell us about painting large on location, because it's something most of us don't really have any experience with.
You feel the location in a different kind of way. Painting large, actually, it's a more emotional response for me, as opposed to more of an inspection kind of portrayal. And particularly the way I paint, it harkens back to the color field, and a bit of the expression is kind of painters. But I just feel that I can sort of channel the location in a more realistic way.
So do they make a panel carrier in 34,000?
No, actually, I've designed my own easel, and the next thing will be a panel carrier that will allow me to go maybe up to 60 inches.
Wow. Wow. So you went to the same spot how many days in a row?
3 days.
3 days in a row.
The first day just to site my location and to sort of block in what I wanted to paint.
And you're painting all with palette knife.
Yes. The block in I sketched in with a brush.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't know you ever had a brush in your hands. I'm really disappointed.
I don't often use it.
I produced a palette knife painting video for you, and I had no idea you ever had a brush.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to take it
I
off the
have to
market.
stain that board with
Better get them
something.
now because they're going off the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love the palette knife. I picked it up to learn about color.
So you and I met at Fall Color Week in Maine, and I was walking down the street. We were taking pictures of everybody, and here's this woman looking in two directions, and she has two paintings on her easel, and they were both wonderful. And I've only seen that one other time in my life, and that was a painter by the name of Heine Hartwig, who paints 3 at a time. And he said because otherwise he'd never make any money because he's got to be efficient. And here you are, you're looking in one direction, painting, and when you pick up, you dip into your color, you paint on the one, then you look the other direction, then you put that color. Are you still doing that?
Sometimes. I had 3 out this morning.
You did? 3?
But Andrew, who I met here.
Talk into the microphone.
Andrew, who I met here this week, pegged it right. Some of us are a little crazy.
That's great.
Yeah.
A round of applause for Cynthia Rosen. All right, we got another giant painting. So tell us who you are. And get close to that microphone.
I'll see. Make sure I'm close enough. I'm Lon Brower. I'm from Granite City, Illinois, which is just across the river from St. Louis.
And you just came from Annapolis, and you won first prize in Annapolis.
Indeed, I did.
Congratulations!
Yeah, so thank you. That was fun. It was one of those things that Annapolis is about 15 hours from St. Louis, I guess, and I thought, well, another 8 hours to get me up here, and I had the time, and I thought, why not? So this is my first time here. It's been fun, a lot of fun.
Well, it's fun to see you guys painting really large. I mean, you're painting, what sizes did you paint this week?
I did 2 30 by 40s, and we went down. We were at the Flume, and the scale is so huge. It just kind of requires a large canvas, in my estimation.
So why
anyway.
were you painting so small?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's a challenge. My legs are killing me because, it's a challenge enough to be able to get off the parking lot and get down into the rocks. And but then to carry a big panel like that, I could get it all down in one trip, but I always had 3 trips coming back. And yeah, I'm starting to show my age. I'm feeling my age. So anyway, but it
you need a
that's
Sherpa.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I didn't bring my Sherpa with me, but
I have my son Brady with me this week. So
I have 2 boys, and they're not into that. So I'm on my own. But it's part of it. I told somebody, I said, I can take a 30 by 40 down there, and if I get a good painting, that's great. If I don't get a good painting, I still have a really good experience. If I go down there with an 8 by 10, I just have a bad painting, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So so that's part of the story, I think, and that's that's part of what PleinAir is all about.
So you're kind of getting known for painting big paintings. And so when you're going into these PleinAir competitions, you're painting big as well.
As big as I can go, depending on the wall space, of course, but yeah, I'll go as large as I can because it gives me a chance to move around. I'm using big brushes.
Yeah.
I'm doing that 2-inch brush thing and throwing a lot of paint. In 2 hours, I can throw a lot of paint on a canvas, and it's a lot of fun. But that's my style, so everybody has a different way of approaching it.
Your paintings are beautiful.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
very
that.
impressive.
Thank you very much.
Well, how about a round of applause for Lon? All right, I'm going to ask one other person to come up. John, will you come up here for just a second? And then we're going to wrap it up. So coming up to the microphone is John McDonald. So, hi, John.
Hi, I'm John McDonald from Williamstown, Mass.
So you have you keep coming back to this thing too, and you know you're certainly a top tier painter, professionally well known, got a lot of success. Certainly don't need to come here. Why do you come?
Well, in part because I really am more of a studio painter, and I still don't feel competent or comfortable all the time painting plein air. Still looking to develop a style that fits plein air, because my studio, how I paint in the studio, really doesn't. And so I come here both just to have the experience of a nonstop 7 days of painting. What I didn't expect, certainly the first year that I came up, was just how much I was going to enjoy the company. The people here are just such a great group. And I think as someone who you know, you hit a certain level of proficiency in the studio, it's kind of hard to come out and look like a total, you know, a flop painting plein air, but
like you could.
Well, it's I certainly do my share of dogs. You just don't see those. But I think that the people here are just I think are so focused on just painting, very accepting. Everyone's equal. We're all colleagues. That creates an atmosphere where I think it's so easy just to have a bad, I say a bad day painting. There's no such thing as a bad day painting. There are bad paintings, but if you're painting, it's not a bad day. So just to be out here, it doesn't matter if I end up painting 3 paintings and wiping all 3 out. I've had a slightly better year this year, so I'm not complaining at all, but I've had days here in the past, I think this is my 6th time, where I've wiped out all 3 paintings after the day, but it still was great to be here. Great company, great scenery. It's really an unparalleled opportunity to come out and just throw around paint.
John, your thoughts on the current plein air movement?
I think it's great. Being a studio painter, I guess I don't quite see the. I'm not quite as dogmatic. Maybe too strong a word though, in terms of plein air being the only valid way to paint, or even painting from life. I would agree with you that the painting is the point. The point is to create a painting that expresses your intent, captures whatever it is you want to do. But I think the movement is absolutely wonderful. As a quote unquote professional painter, I kind of have misgivings about making art even a profession, in that I've had so many people come up to me and say, I wish I could draw like that, I wish I could paint like that. And I'd say, well, you do, just start now. And their attitude was, I have no talent. And I think in some ways there's a danger of professionalizing the arts to the point where we discourage anyone else from even trying. And I think this plein air movement is fantastic for getting people out who have an inkling, want to express their creative side. And I think that it's almost reached a tipping point where so many people are picking it up that even the rawest beginner is in good company, because there are plenty of people just picking it up. Absolutely. There's a safety in that, and I think it's terrific. And if nothing else comes out of it, maybe they can appreciate the hard work that at each level, as you get better and better, you really realize how hard it is.
Yeah,
and even the most, I always say the only difference between a beginning painter and an experienced painter is that experienced painters catch their mistakes earlier, but we make as many as the beginners do.
Yeah, good point. I thought you were going to say, when people walked up and say, I don't have any talent, you were going to say, buy my video.
Oh, well, okay. Well, thank you. I left the plug for you.
Thank you, John, for being
You're
here.
welcome.
John McDonald. Okay, we have Cynthia Rosen is back at the microphone. Get right up there at that mic.
I am definitely back because I want to explain something about doing 2 or 3 paintings at a time. This is a learning process. Those of us who go out and paint plein air day after day, or however often we do, it's a learning process. When I go paint 3 paintings at a time, it's like practicing a new vocabulary word in different sentences. It's studying the color that's there. So, you know, for those who are listening, this is not necessarily creating a finished product. That's not the intent. It's going out, it's catching an understanding of the colors, the light, what's there. And that's when I started to paint multiple paintings at a time. First it was, do I want to paint abstract or representational? Then it was, do I want to do a brush or a knife? Now it has to do with studying the color that's out there at the time in the morning. So just wanted to clarify for those who are listening.
Great.
It's all a learning process.
Thank you, Cynthia Rosen. All right. So anybody else? One last one? Anybody got a hand up? All right. I guess we've tapped out the crowd. They're ready for beer and portraits. So thank you. Tonight has been basically people at the, in case you missed this in the beginning, which how could you? Essentially what we're doing here is we're at the Publishers Invitational. I know nobody ever mentioned it, but we're at the Publishers Invitational in the Adirondacks, a June event. We have another event in fall at Fall Color Week. This year it's going to be at Ghost Ranch where Georgia O'Keeffe lived and painted for many, many years. And it's just about painting, and there's no workshops, there's no instructors, there's no stars. We're just here as family. And I want to thank you guys because you're my family. I was saying to my wife, because I live close to here, I went home the other night and I said, you know, this is my favorite week of the year. I love the Plein Air Convention. I love Fall Color Week. I love all the trips that we do and the things that we do. But, you know, I've made a lot of really great friends. It's nice to see you year after year. You come back, a lot of you, and it's just so much joy. So give yourselves a round of applause, and thank you for listening to the PleinAir Podcast. Thank you. Well, it's fun to do this, something unique. Thanks to everybody who attended the Publishers Invitational. I hope you'll all come back for next year. Next year's the 10-year anniversary, kind of the reunion. And of course, if you've never been, I hope you'll come. Anyway, a lot of people already signed up for next year. I think we're like 60% sold already. So anyway, you should come to that. You ready for some marketing ideas?
This is the Marketing Minute with Eric Rhodes, author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Make More Money Selling Your Art, Proven Techniques to Turn Your Passion into Profit.
In the Marketing Minute, I try to answer your questions, and you can email me anytime, eric@pleinairmagazine.com. This is a question from Susan Estill. Susan says, are all art marketing websites equal? And if not, why? And what do you recommend? Well, Susan, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a secret. I don't know the answer to that. You see, I don't ever want to be accused of stealing other people's ideas, so I make a point never to look at the websites offering art marketing ideas. I never read other people's art marketing books. I want to keep my ideas original, make sure that I'm not stealing other people's material. So I quite frankly don't know. The only thing I can recommend is my own, which is artmarketing.com, where I blog about marketing. And I'm sorry I'm not more of a help, but I'm sure there's great people out there, but I'm unique because I've coached hundreds of artists, handled ads and content for lots and lots of advertisers over a career in radio and marketing, built lots of businesses. And so I probably approach things a lot differently than most art marketing people do. And so I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I'm probably a little bit different because I've got a lot of proven success in art marketing. No brag, just fact. Anyway, I'm sorry I couldn't answer your question more, but I'm sure I can help you if you go to artmarketing.com. The next question comes from Ann Dinkelspiel. Sounds like a good German name. Ann says, painting feels like a meditative practice for me. I'm afraid that if I move into trying to sell my art, I will lose my focus. I've sold my art to people I know. I like making money. But the fear remains about introducing an intention to make money into the equation. Well, Ann, you're not alone. I know a lot of other artists feel the same way. They don't want to impact their art with the intention of making money. I suppose even showing your art on social media influences that intention, whether it's for selling or just showing off. And, you know, if you feel like those things influence your painting, I can tell you I have painted something and I thought it was really good, and I'm thinking, well, I can't wait to put this on social media to let everybody know how good I really am. Of course, I'm not, but you know, sometimes you think those things. And so those things do influence you. But the reality is there's nothing really wrong with letting the influence take over, especially if you're trying to make a living or if you need to sell your paintings. So I guess you could kind of carry that whole concept to the idea, well, maybe your life isn't as good if you're working, so you shouldn't have an income, and then, you know, you're going to be totally natural. But that's carrying things to an extreme, I suppose. I can say that the best artists in the world were great marketers. There are painters who were equally as brilliant and never discovered. Like Rembrandt was a great marketer, so was Sargent. They were both great marketers. They both sold a lot of work in their lifetime. So, did that influence their work? Maybe. Was their work awesome? Of course. Sometimes people get discovered, but usually the ones that are remembered are the ones that learn how to market their work. So there's no requirement, of course, to sell your art or to make money. And frankly, if you don't need to, why do it? I don't need to sell my art, but the reason I do sell it is because I like that validation that somebody other than my mother or my family members likes my work and is willing to pay for it. It's not because I need to make a living. And so anyway, there are a lot of artists who need to make a living and need to find a way to sell. And if you don't need to, stay out of the way so they can, I suppose. But if you need to, you might want to consider that the intent of making money will influence your art. And if it does, make what you need and paint the rest for what you want to paint so it's not influenced. Just a thought. Anyway, I appreciate the concept and the thought. That's it for the Marketing Minute. Hey, a reminder that if you want to do the fine art trip to Provence in the south of France and then maybe you go on to Scotland, check it out at finearttrip.com. Better get those seats quickly, though. It's coming up in October. And it's limited to, I think, 50 people because we have to keep it small so we can get into certain places. Also, if you want to join us at FACE, the Figurative Art Convention, that's figurativeartconvention.com. And if you've not seen my blog about life and art and stuff and things, check it out. It's called Sunday Coffee, and you can find it at coffeewitheric.com. Well, it's always fun to do this. Let's do it again sometime like next week. I will see you then. I'm Eric Rhodes, the publisher and founder of PleinAir Magazine. And remember, it's a big, beautiful world out there. Go paint it. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
This has been the PleinAir Podcast with PleinAir Magazine's Eric Rhodes. You can help spread the word about plein air painting by sharing this podcast with your friends. And you can leave a review or subscribe on iTunes so it comes to you every week. And you can even reach Eric by email, eric@pleinairmagazine.com. Be sure to pick up our free ebook, 240 plein air painting tips by some of America's top painters. It's free at pleinairtips.com. Tune in next week for more great interviews. Thanks for listening.